even many scientists and philosophers ask this question: what is the relationship of maths with reality? And of course, for theologians, reality also includes God. What is the relationship between maths and God? Now, at first glance, this whole project of mathematics, linking mathematics and God, it seems really crazy and really counterintuitive, because you see, on one hand, mathematics is logical and rational, and on other hand, God is illogical, beyond logic. Let's not say illogical, but beyond logic and beyond rationality. So how do you bring them both together? But there is a rich tradition of linking mathematics with God, or let's say reality as a whole, both in Western world and Indian world. India, both in Western world and ancient world, let's put it like that, Eastern world, East and West, both have a rich tradition of linking mathematics with reality and God. In fact, theology is an entire subject which tries to link logic with God. They want to understand theology. Theo means God, logy means logic. How to understand God and His working and everything through logic. The base of mathematics is logic, rigorous logic. And that kind of thing has been there since a long time. For example, in the West, we can go back to Pythagoras, around 2,500 years back. Pythagoras, he first noticed that there is a link between music and mathematics. It was a very counterintuitive, probably insight, that here is maths, which is logical and rational, and here is music, which seemingly is absolutely illogical and irrational. People feel music. People don't feel mathematics. They do mathematics. So, but Pythagoras found that music is highly mathematical. So, and then he did his research, and he found, and he famously said, everything is mathematics, including reality, including God or divine. Then came Plato, and Plato was quite an interesting philosopher, because he said that this entire world is shadow, and they are in the heavens. That's a real word, that's a Platonic word, he said. Here circles and squares are not real circles and squares. There, circles and squares are real circles and squares. Just like sun, it's a perfect circle. Moon, it's a perfect circle. The orbits of planets around the sun, that's a perfect circle. I mean to say, according to Plato, but now we know it's an ellipse. But he said, real of reality, let's put it like that. It's there in the heavens. So he linked heavens with mathematics. That was his idea. He linked heavens with geometry, to be precise. And then came Spinoza. And Spinoza linked mathematics with universal laws of this material world. Now, one thing, Spinoza came around 300-400 years back, when science was just beginning to rise, Enlightenment, Renaissance period. Science was very active and dynamic. It was coming with such a force, and people were finding universal laws, or physics were finding universal laws, Newtonian laws, Galilean laws, Copernican laws, biology and chemistry, molecules, and there were so many things happening. So Spinoza saw his God in universal laws. These universal laws which are governing this entire material universe, entire cosmos, and even a molecule, right from subatomic world to cosmos, to macro reality, right through, and then to micro reality. Everything is governed with laws. This is a quite good insight. So he said, this is God. So he linked universal laws with God or divine or with reality, let's put it like that. And that's why he famously said, God is the center of a circle which is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere. That's quite interesting. You can think about it. But then, so these are philosophers. But then came scientists. And let's quote Einstein. Who better than is more than Einstein? Einstein said that God is a mathematician. Let's put it straightforward like that. I think I'm not paraphrasing him, but he said like this. Or he said, some other scientists, they said the language of God is mathematics. In fact, now present 20th century scientists, they are almost in consensus that if God made this universe, he had to use mathematics. What else is there except mathematics? Without which he will create this material world. Mathematics, that's his language, that's what he speaks. If you happen to meet God, he will speak mathematics. That's all. So these scientists and philosophers in Western tradition, they try to link mathematics with reality, which includes God. Some philosophers didn't include God, atheistic philosophers. For them, reality and maths are linked. Some philosophers were actually quasi-theistic, and they linked divine power and reality with mathematics. Some people were theistic and they said, well, mathematics, reality and God, they are all interlinked. This is about the West. But when you come to the East, something very surprising is happening. Very different is happening in the East. If in the West, people are trying to link mathematics with reality and God, in the East, 2,500 years back, Vedic tradition, even Jainism, and philosophers like Nyaya and Vaisheshik, they were thinking, well, we can equate mathematics with God, but not with finite numbers of mathematics. We can't equate reality with simple geometry, which is finite. By finite, I mean circle, which has a circumference and a limit. Square has a limit. So we can't describe reality with something finite things, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or God with something finite numbers. We need a number which is inconceivable. That's the whole idea there. We need a number which is inconceivable. And what's that number? Indians or Vedic tradition, it came up with a number called as infinity. Now, if you want to discuss about infinity, it will take infinite time, because that's infinity. It's difficult to understand infinity. Physicists, they're very afraid of infinity, because if in the equations this monster, they call infinity as monster, if it appears, the whole equation breaks, because they can't conceive of reality as infinite. For them, everything should be infinite, because if it's not, so according to scientists, everything in reality should be finite. If it's not finite, and if then how do you measure reality? How do you rationally and logically understand reality? And if something is not rationally, logically understood, then the whole premise of science breaks. Science begins with the assumption that reality can be understood and can be objectified rationally and put in numbers. Let us say simply, reality can be put in numbers. But Indians were not thinking like that. They said, no, we need a number which is inconceivable, and that number, so they came up with infinity. That's quite an achievement. So Jains, Nyaya and Vedantic people, they said, okay, so what's reality? What is God? They said, that's infinity. And more than that, they came up with different types of infinity. That's quite interesting. They said, well, whole reality is infinity. God is infinity. How many living entities are there? Infinite. How big is cosmos? Infinite. Second reality. What is God? Infinite. Three types of reality which are all infinite. You can imagine x, y, z axis. X is infinite, y is infinite, z, which is depth, which that is infinite. They came up with different types of infinity. That was quite an insight. Our ancient Eastern world was much ahead than Western world in actually thinking mathematics and God. But then came Buddha, Lord Buddha. He said, well, I don't agree with you. This much I agree, God and reality cannot be put in finite words. It should be inconceivable. But it's infinite, I don't agree. God and reality is not finite, okay? So you say it's infinite, but I want to go to the other end. I want to use zero, number zero. God is zero, reality is zero. That means they are nothing. Zero means nothing. Zero doesn't mean absence of something. According to Buddha, zero is shunya. Shunya means nothing. You see this reality? It's nothing. It's all illusion. Actually, it's not even illusion. It's not there at all. You see, you think about God, that's illusion. That's actually even not illusion. That's nothing. Zero. Who are you? Zero. Nothing. Who is he? Nothing. So when you meditate, you will understand there is nothing. And that was Buddha. So our Eastern tradition, they came up with this concept of zero. Quite interesting concept, zero. The zero we use in modern computers, the concept of zero and infinite, especially zero we use in modern computers at bits and bytes, 0 and 1. That was a quite useful invention which happened in ancient India. And how that happened, zero and infinity, the concept of infinity came up with the necessity to describe reality and God. Okay, then anyway, let's go forward. After Buddhism came Shankaracharya, who came up with this theory of Mayavadism. He said, well, to Buddha, God is not, or reality is not nothing. We can see this cosmos, we can see people. How dare you say it's nothing? So Shankara said, well, I agree with Jainism, Vedanta and Nyaya philosophers that God and reality is infinite and infinite is inconceivable. That's okay, that I agree. But I have little different view. It's infinite, but that infinite is having some qualities. Let's put it like that. That Jains, Vedantic people, so not Vedanta, but actually Vedic tradition, Jainism and Nyaya and Vaisheshik, they said that God is infinite. Well, Shankara said it's infinite, but that infinite is one. It's not different types of infinite. That I don't agree with you. It's not x, y, z axis. Infinite is one, but it is invisible, second, and it is indivisible. It is one, invisible, indivisible. Shankara said, that's my infinite. That's how I define infinite. So basically he's saying that God and reality is infinite, inconceivable, you cannot see it, invisible, and indivisible, that it is infinite, that's all. That's all. And there is no different types of reality. It's all one reality. It seems to you there is word, there is God, there are so many living people, but when you meditate, you will find everything is one. One infinite, indivisible, invisible. That's Shankara. But then afterwards, Vaishnavas came, Vaishnavism, many Vaishnav sampradayas, and they said, well, we don't agree with you, Shankaracharya. You say everything is one, but that's absurd because we can see there are so many things. Space is different, you are different, I am different, everybody is different. So there has to be different types of infinity. So Vaishnavism, they were in line with Jainism and Vedic tradition. They said, we agree with him, different types of infinity. But then they went forward. They said, okay, Shankaracharya, you say everything is one reality, but we don't say everything is one reality. Everything is different types of reality, but there are different types of layers of reality. There is not just different types of infinity, but there are different levels of infinity. That's the insight of Vaishnavism. An infinity beyond infinity. Everything is not one. So in simple words, they said, this whole material world, this is infinite. What is God? That's infinite. But the infinity of God and infinite of material world is, the infinity of God is greater than the infinity of material world. Now that's quite an insight. And there's a link between two infinities. This infinity is a cause of this infinity. Now that might seem absurd to you, but it's not absurd. Around 300, I think just recently, at the time of Einstein, just 100 years back, 100 years back, Einstein's friend Georg Cantor, a mathematician, he proved that there are different levels of infinite. There is an infinite, and there is a greater infinite than that infinity, and then there is a more greater infinite. How do you understand? He proved it mathematically. You go on Google and see Cantor infinities. And here are people, ancient people, they are talking about these things thousands of years back. You can imagine how advanced our Vedic tradition was. Thousands of years back, they are talking about different levels of infinity. And this necessity of talking about different levels of infinity came up with the so in trying to explain reality and God. So they said everything is not one. Reality is infinite, God is infinite, space is infinite, God is infinite, but God is beyond that infinity, greater infinity. And then they said everything is not invisible. We have an infinity which is visible. That's another great insight. That is devotion. Devotion is infinity which you can see. God expresses himself through devotees in form of devotion. There is no difference between God and devotion, we know. So God is infinity, devotion is infinity, but this infinity is visible, God is invisible. And one of the mathematicians, he actually said, what is this kind of infinity? Pi, number pi. Number pi, if you see, pi is 3.1423, so it keeps on going. Pi number is a fraction which is irreducible and non-repeatable. Or let's say pi is a number which is having non-repeatable randomness. If you see pi number, it will keep on going on, and you will find no pattern. Till infinity it will keep on going. It will not end. That's the whole idea. So pi is infinite value. But then what's pi? Circumference of a circle. Pi into d, diameter. Pi is required for the circumference of a circle. And what is circle? Circle you can see. Circle is a finite thing. There's a space, there's a structure, circle. But that's defined by pi. And that you can see, it's a big mystery in mathematics. Something infinite, and you can put it on paper and you can see it. That's quite amazing. That's devotion. So God is not invisible, he is visible in form of devotion. And the third thing is God is not indivisible. So not God, but reality is not indivisible. You can actually divide reality. In fact, they came up with a concept, there is infinity within infinities. So when you talk about God, God is infinite, but then there is another infinite within God, and that is a concept in our scriptures of energy and energetic. God and his energies. God is infinite, and within that infinity, if within that infinity if you focus and if you fine tune, then you will find that there are another infinities within that infinity which are actually smaller than those infinities, or maybe also equal. So that is energy and energetic thing, which is very peculiar to Vaishnava tradition. So they say, reality is not indivisible. It is actually divisible, but it is divisible in an inconceivable way. To find infinity within infinities, you can't say that you have divided that infinity, but yet you have infinity within infinities. You have divided it in a certain sense, in a very inconceivable way. And this was also the work of Georg Cantor. So you see, quite interesting. mathematics and God have been linked, both in Western and in Eastern world. And so I would like to end it that mathematics have actually contributed to our understanding of God and has made it more precise and concise and logical. For example, so we can understand reality in a very concise way. By saying reality as infinite, we understand what we're talking. In English words, it's not really graspable, but maths has contributed like that, and God has contributed to mathematics in a very beautiful way. The necessity to understand God and reality brought in maths beautiful concepts of infinity and zero, which are very useful entities when it comes to pure mathematics. And zero is very useful when it comes to technology, computers. God has also contributed the understanding of the necessity of understanding God and reality has also contributed to mathematics by actually bringing the concept of inconceivable complexity in a system which is conceivable, mathematics, which is very rational. But mathematics saw these concepts of infinity and it infused those concepts in itself. God and reality, it also brought in mathematics beauty, intuition. To come up with the concepts of infinity and zero, you need a great amount of intuition and imagination. So God and reality, it brought imagination and rationality together. And then obviously awe and wonder and surprises. And that's what mathematics and God, the link between mathematics and God has actually gifted to humanity. So it had been a very long history, a beautiful story of mathematics and God. And I hope, so I think perhaps Cantor, who was working on infinities in mathematics, perhaps he knew about our rich Eastern tradition. Perhaps he knew about Indians talking about infinity and infinity within infinities. Perhaps he read about it. And the concept of infinity has been very elusive in science, especially to physicists. But for mathematics, they love this. They love this. But they are struggling to understand this. That's another thing. I think God and mathematics, or reality and mathematics, goes a long way. And probably if we try to link them together, we can understand more about reality and God. Thank you very much.